Well, if you've ever wanted Bo Jackson at the University of Alabama, you might get your chance.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Gametime, and thank you for making this your first listen every single day. Jimmy, if you've ever wondered what the bowels of the BJCC look like, ta-da, this is them.
Hello, bowels.
That's where I am calling AHSA state championship games like I was yesterday. And today I get to call Caleb Holt with Buckhorn, who is arguably the top sophomore in the country. And looking forward to that. I got to call him last year. He's just a fabulous player. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. Mountain Brook will be playing here today. This place will be absolutely slammed. Fairfield will be here today. That'll lead to a lot of people. So, yeah, it's going to be a big deal today at the BJCC. If you listen to this in time, I highly encourage you to come over here and check this out. Or you can check us out on WOTM or the AHSA Radio Network if you're interested in listening to these games. Meanwhile, Jimmy, as I let off, Bo Jackson is a name that is both iconic and haunting to Alabama fans. I mean, honestly, if there's one player that you could say, okay, you can go back at any point in time in history and have that one player who, you know, legitimately considered Alabama come to Alabama versus go to somewhere else, I would say Bo Jackson would be the guy everybody would pick. Because if he were to go to if he were to go to Alabama, it changes everything. I mean, Bo Jackson is so associated with Auburn that it really elevated their whole brand. And I feel like if had he gone to Alabama, I mean, God knows how this would have changed history. But he didn't. And now there's a new Bo Jackson. His name's actually Lamar Jackson, which is also kind of weird. But he goes by the name Bo. He is athlete, the number 4 athlete in the country, according to you guys over at On 3, out of Ohio. And Alabama's got a shot at him. They've offered him, and it feels like Alabama has a shot. Will he end up at Alabama? I mean, I'm still going to probably say no, but it's fun to pretend.
He may end up at Alabama. I think Alabama has a legitimate shot at Bo. Now, you know, I think this year in this cycle, and again, we're early in the cycle, we're still piecing this together in terms of where kids are ranked and in terms of predictions about where, you know, who ends up with a great class. Ohio State right now, Luke, feels like the team that, like last year's Georgia. I think Ohio State is going to be really tough to beat the cycle because it's a combination of great program plus very aggressive with the NIL. And I think that's going to make them tough to beat for their priority players. And I think Bo could end up being a big priority for Ohio State. So I think they're the real threat, but I think Alabama has a great shot for anybody out there that just thinks it's silly that Alabama's making a big deal over signing a kid because his name is Bo Jackson. I think Alabama fans would be upset if a kid named Derrick Henry signed with Auburn. So especially if he was a running back. and this Bo Jackson is a running back. And let me tell you, I'm not going to make any comparisons, but I'll say this, his physique, his build. I mean, this kid looks like Bo Jackson. He does.
Or
bodied running
back. Bo Scarborough.
That's a decent comparison too. I mean, that's what kind of back he is. He's a big back, but he's not a big lumbering back. This is a big back who can run. So there's some Bo Jackson similarities beyond just the obvious name. But it is going to be funny, I mean, to see an Alabama player named Bo Jackson if that happens, particularly at the running back position. I think running back wise, Dylan Johnson had a lot of success in this offense under DeBoer, and I think running backs know that. But at the same time, I think DeBoer's, you know, his reputation or the perception, that's a better term, the perception of this is a throw it all around the ball yard guy. And I think running backs are going to be kind of wait and see on him because I don't think they're going to be convinced that he runs the ball until he runs the ball this fall with those backs at Alabama, the Jam and Justice show, as I call it. I think running backs may be, let's see what this offense looks like. But all the evidence that's out there suggests that he is going to run the ball a lot. Dylan Johnson, I think, second in the Pac-12 in rushing yards just last year.
Yeah, and I think he will run the ball, and he's got a good stable of backs. But, I mean, I think it would help to have somebody like this. And I just think it'd be fun to have that to toss around, like, which Bo Jackson is better? And we know which Bo Jackson is better, but we just want to screw with him a little bit. So I'm all about that. By the way, before we go to our first break, and I do want to add, first of all, Bo Jackson, this one is going to have a decision in July. At least that's what he says. He's taking a bunch of visits. He's being looked at by Georgia and Ohio State and Penn State, Cincinnati, Kentucky. He is a highly recruited dude. This isn't just a novelty thing. I mean, this guy is a dude. So, yeah, I would love for Alabama to get him. I mean, I'm not quite as optimistic as you. I wouldn't say you're optimistic, but you're more optimistic
real
than
shot. I was going to say,
okay.
What I'll say is a real shot. I worry about Ohio State.
Let's also say this. The last time we dipped into Ohio State to get somebody with a famous moniker, Devontae Smith, still on the team. And, so anyway.
Projected starter as of right now.
I wanted to throw this out there before I forget. Justin Jonas, who played at Alabama back in the mid-2000s, I got to call his game last night for DAR High School. They ended up losing to Jackson. Fantastic ball game. Boy, his team was gritty and tough and, like, unafraid. That's the best way I know to describe them. They were a lot of fun to watch, and I love seeing former Alabama players, whether it be in football, baseball, basketball, whatever, come back and coach here in the state. I just think that's awesome. Number one, because I'm an in-state Alabama guy, but number two, because I think it's great for the Crimson Tide. Let's say if DAR ever does have a prospect, I don't know that they will or won't. They might not. They didn't have any guys that I would consider big prospects basketball-wise last night, but they all played super hard. They're the kind of guys you don't want to play against. They just get after you. And Justin Jonas coached them up really well.
Hey, a question about, so did you watch it? You talk about Jackson High School in South Alabama?
Yes. Jackson versus DAR.
Yeah. Jackson is full of football prospects. I mean, it's the craziest thing in the state, really, in my opinion, for a rural place like Jackson, which doesn't normally produce players. Their junior and sophomore class, something was just in the water that year in Jackson, Alabama. They have 3 or 4, if not 5, SEC football prospects.
Landon Duckworth is their quarterback. He's committed to South Carolina, and he's up now. He's a sophomore. Yeah, I know. He's a sophomore. So, but he played pretty well last night. I mean, he wasn't a star. They have a kid that's a sophomore named Keon Chapman. K-E-E.
He's a wide receiver on the football team. He's
Y-U-N Chapman.
Wide receiver on the football team.
Jimmy.
Wide receiver on the football team.
He attacks the rim like it talked about his mama. I'm talking about he gets after he dunked so viciously several times last night, and he blocked shots with disdain. I'm telling you, this guy is good.
He's not even the best wide receiver on that team. He's the number 2 wide receiver on that team. The number 1's a kid named Juice Gordon. Gordon, he is Georgia offer, Penn State offer. Again, this is a rising junior. And on top of all of it, they had the best freshman in the state of Alabama last year. Running back is Xavier Crowell, who is a rising 10th grader.
And committed to Oregon, right?
He's got an Oregon offer.
Okay.
But he's also got Georgia. I think he's got an Alabama offer. But he will. Xavier Crowell has a chance to be the number 1 running back in the country in his age group.
Well, look, I'm telling you, come out here. I think they play Friday for the state championship. I won't be able to make it, but I'm telling you, that's going to be a fun game. So looking forward to that. And Jimmy, we got a big basketball game tonight. We're going to talk about it. But of course, I want to tell you about the Gametime app, because you know how much I love Gametime. I've talked about it a gazillion times. I use it all the time myself. I don't think you can use it for the HSA, but you should be able to. It would be awesome when they get that hooked up. I'm telling you, you could use it to go to the Ole Miss game tonight. You can get last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, easy to find, and buy tickets for every kind of event near you. Views from all the seats in your venue, and I've said it a million times. I used it for the Miami Dolphins game. I used it for a World Series game for my son. I used it for the Bama Tennessee game this year, the Bama Texas A&M basketball game. I used it for the Bama game against Liberty in the Liberty Arena in a Legacy Arena here earlier this year. I use it all the time. Go check out this app. Use code Locked On. That's all one word. Get $20 off your first purchase. You will absolutely love the Gametime app. You cannot beat it. Just go download it. It's super easy. I've got it on my phone. If I can get it, you can get it. I'm phonally challenged, and I promise you, I can make this happen. So go use code Locked On with the Gametime app and go check out whatever events you want to. Look, they had Journey and Toto here recently at the Legacy Arena. You could have used the Gametime app for that. They've got Nate Bargatze coming here. You can go use it for that. I might use it for that because I love me some Nate Bargatze. So go check out Gametime. Use code Locked On for $20 off. All right, so Bama's got a big game tonight against the Ole Miss Rebels. And look, if you don't think it's a big game, just lose it and see how the reaction is. The reaction to winning it will not be equal to the reaction should we lose it. And that's unfair, but that's the way it is. Now, Bama needs this win in a big way. I don't know that Latrell Wrightsville is going to be available. In fact, I'm almost certain he won't be. I did have the opportunity to talk to Brian Pasek a little bit yesterday. Great dude, does the color for Alabama, as you know, former Alabama player. And he's still, he's like me. He's still very excited about this season. Yeah, we ran into a buzzsaw Saturday. Guess what? Kansas lost to BYU at home last night. So sometimes it just happens, especially this year. And sometimes you just catch somebody on the wrong night because Mississippi State had Kentucky in the bag and they let it slip away and blew it twice. It just happens. So we've got to put that, don't let Kentucky beat us twice. We've got to be able to take care of Ole Miss tonight. We didn't talk about this yesterday. This is one thing that I talked about with Pasek yesterday after we did our podcast and right before I came here to the BJCC. I said, well, I assume that Allen Flanagan won't be in. He goes, oh, you haven't heard? I said, man, I've been studying for this HSA stuff. What happened? He goes, yeah, he's playing. They considered his suspension after that game, during that game, enough of a penalty. That's a joke of a joke of a joke. Nate Bargatze wouldn't tell that joke. It's an awful joke. What Allen Flanagan did was malicious, nefarious, intentional, and awful. What Muhammad Wagi did was bad. I am not making up for it. It was bad. He shouldn't have done it. But at least it was in the context of going for a ball. Allen Flanagan threw an elbow with ferociousness that could have legitimately knocked a player out for the year. And I'm kind of disgusted with the SEC.
Yeah, I would call it the worst decision I've ever seen out of the SEC office. The worst decision I've ever seen. I thought it condoned that sort of behavior. Action.
Agreed.
It condoned the act. It condoned it. It almost endorsed it. I mean, that's how bad. I mean, the comparison. I mean, Diabate lost a whole game. Alabama lost a whole next game. Flanagan was just kicked out of the game he was in. What if there was 3 minutes left? And I don't think there was
a lot of time left. There wasn't a lot of time.
Ole Miss didn't get it's. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all, but let me tell you this: Ole Miss has to beat Alabama to make the NCAA tournament. Ole Miss can make the NCAA tournament, but it must include beating Alabama. And add up the 2 and 2 here. I think this is nefarious. I think it's outrageous. I think it's the worst decision I've ever seen from the SEC office. And I can't even think of what's next. I mean, of what would be second. But that was an outrageous decision. And there is an SEC rule that says when you're ejected for fighting, you have to sit out the next game. What the heck else was that? Other than that had nothing to do with basketball.
I guess two things. Number one, maybe they didn't consider it fighting because the other guy didn't have a chance to swing. Is it a fight when somebody just cold cocks somebody and the other guy gets knocked out? Secondly,
so if the guy had hit him back, they both would have been ejected for the next game.
Yeah, that's so dumb. That's so dumb. And here's the other thing.
The guy couldn't hit him back. He was almost dead.
It's even worse. It's made worse, if you ask me, when you consider Muhammad Wagi just got a lot of bad attention and the negative spotlight from his action. So Wagi's happens on a Wednesday. This happens on a Saturday. Wagi catches all kind of hell, is suspended a game. Allen Flanagan's happens a few days later after all this attention, And his is worse. His act is worse, yet his suspension is less. So tell me how that makes sense. It doesn't make sense. I'm not going to go so far as say it's a conspiracy. What I am going to say is the SEC made a dumb call. There's no other way to do it. And if the roles were reversed, if Alan Flanagan's had come first and McGee's had come second, I would be all for McGee going, yeah, I think he should miss another game. I think he should miss an additional game. But that being said, Alabama's just got to go out there and win. It is what it is.
We weren't upset about McGee's suspension. Me and you were like, yeah, I get that. No. I mean, McGee's suspension I thought was worthy, but Flanagan, if Flanagan had to only miss the one game, I would have argued, is that enough considering what happened? And he didn't even have to miss that. So anyway, it's just I don't understand it all. Like I said, the worst decision I've ever seen from the SEC office on any subject.
Having said all that, I think this is going to go one of two ways. Either that's going to inspire the Ole Miss team or it's going to deflate them. And I feel like because I think they know what's right. I think the Ole Miss people know what's right, and they know that shouldn't be a thing. So maybe it could deflate them regardless. If Alabama plays their best, if they play nearly their best, they'll win this game. They're a lot better than Ole Miss. I don't think there's any doubt. South Carolina went in there and buried them. The difference is South Carolina went in there and buried them because they play defense. It's kind of hard to bury somebody when you don't play defense, and we have not been playing defense, and we turn the ball over a lot. So having said all that, and knowing that against good teams on the road like Tennessee, Kentucky, and Auburn, we lose by double digits, like high double digits. But against middling teams on the road, like Vanderbilt, who beat Arkansas last night, like LSU, like Mississippi State, we go and win. So I think if we win tonight, lose in Gainesville, I think I can live with that. All you got to do then is beat Tennessee and Arkansas. All you got to do is beat Tennessee and Arkansas. Arkansas is no problem. Tennessee's going to be a problem. But we've got to get this win tonight, or that Tennessee game doesn't mean nearly as much. And here's the other thing. It's going to suck if game day comes and we're on a 2-game losing streak.
Yeah, you can win the SEC if you win tonight and beat Arkansas. If you win tonight and beat Arkansas, you can win the SEC. I think if you win tonight and beat Arkansas and beat Tennessee, you will win the SEC. But,
agreed.
But I don't think there is a path to Alabama winning the SEC without winning tonight. So I do think it is a must win in terms of winning the conference, and it's going to be difficult because any win on the road against a Power 5, Power 4 basketball team is extremely difficult, and it will be extremely difficult. Ole Miss is a good team, especially with Flanagan. They're a good team that is NCAA tournament worthy, but Alabama can perhaps even bust their bubble tonight. I think Ole Miss's path in has to include a win over Alabama. So it's a must win for both teams, which should make for compelling basketball.
All right. It's Jimmy. I know I don't talk about it a lot. I'm not going to talk a lot about it today. That's why I'm saving it for the final segment. But the baseball team, they're showing out. I do want to tell everybody about Locked On, though. Locked On and FanDuel. I love Locked On, but I love FanDuel too. FanDuel.com/Locked On is what I meant to say earlier, but I'm running on fumes. Y'all bear with me. FanDuel.com/Locked On is where you want to go because that is the best place to go and actually make some extra cash. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. That's awesome. That's like, here, we don't want money. You take it. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets or live same-game parlays. Those are awesome. Exclusive player and team props and much, 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 much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/Locked On. That's all one word, FanDuel.com/Locked On, and shoot your shot today. FanDuel is an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, really quickly, I want to give a shout out. I had two older gentlemen, actually. I shouldn't call them older. Two nice gentlemen come up to me at the BJCC, tell me they never missed the show, and I love them for that. And one of them gave me their name. His name was Blake. I don't remember his last name, but Blake, thank you, bro. Appreciate you coming up to us. And the other guy also, thank you. Can't remember your name because you didn't say it. So there we go. So it's not really fair.
I can't remember it. It's tough to remember it when you don't know it.
Jimmy, we're not going to – I'm going to tell everybody now because I know y'all aren't as interested. I'm not as interested. but it's Alabama, so I want it to do as well as it can. The baseball team got another win last night in extra innings over UAB. Let me tell you something. Historically, we have not fared well against UAB in Birmingham. I can't back that up with any statistics. I can just tell you it seems like every time for the past 20 years we played UAB in Birmingham, I feel like we lose.
Something like 20-12. I think I saw it yesterday. Something like 20-12. So we lose over a third of the time, I believe, when we play Birmingham on the road, UAB on the road.
Well, I would be willing to bet that record is worse over the last 15 years, 20 years, because it feels like and again, I know we play them a lot of midweek stuff, so we're not throwing our ace, but they're probably not throwing their ace either. Regardless, I do want to give this baseball team a little love. They're still undefeated. They haven't played, the Yankees or anything, but in baseball, sometimes you just screw up and lose to. I mean, Mississippi State's probably going to end up firing their coach. They've been losing so much. So it's good that this team is winning. The SEC is going to be a meat grinder again, and you need to get all the wins you can get in your pocket right now, because when you go up in the SEC and you play teams that have won national championships, or played for them or been in the College World Series, Arkansas and Vanderbilt and LSU and Auburn, I mean, these are all really good teams. So you better get all the wins you can. And we got a win last night in extras against UAB. It was a sketchy moment. I got to listen to the very last bit of it as I was leaving the BJCC after that Jackson DAR game, but I was proud that the team won. Did you go?
No. As a matter of fact, I've been to several games. This is terrible. Hold on.
That's your alarm.
Yeah.
And
got to do something for BOL there. What's happening is that I have been to about 3 or 4 games. I've listened to the others. Last night was the first game I didn't go to or listen to because the wife and I went to a movie last night. So we were at the movie theater and I missed most of the game, although I did keep up with it best as I could without making people angry in the theater by looking at my phone. But what I thought was amazing about the game, Luke, was Alabama's 9-0. That was probably their worst performance of the season, yet they still won. What do great teams do? We talk about this all the time, and basketball in particular might even happen tonight. Great teams win when they don't play well, when they don't play their best and still find a way to win. That's what was encouraging to me about last night. It was Alabama only won, was it 9-7? They were behind. Had to come back, then blew a lead and went to extra innings, but found a way to win again with midweek pitching. Let's remember Alabama's pitching depth took a big hit when they lost Riley Quick for the season. So now Alabama's midweek starter is a true freshman, and he's got a lot of potential, but he gave up a few runs and got behind last night. And hey, a true freshman pitching against UAB, that's a challenge.
One other note I want to throw out there before I have to get out of here, because I'm going out to call my first game of the day. We've got a game here at 9:00, and then at 10:30 is that Buckhorn contest, and that's Caleb Holt. So if you're an Alabama fan, you love basketball recruiting, or if you just love basketball in general, come out here and check out Caleb Holt at Legacy Arena. You got time. I'm going to try and publish this right before we go on air, so hopefully you'll get the word. But I want to just throw out one more thing from here at Legacy Arena. Ace Austin from Spring Garden, they won big yesterday, or 2 days ago, I think it was. Ace Austin is committed to the University of Alabama. She has another year to go, or maybe 2 more years to go. I can't remember. I didn't call her game. She is a phenom. I'm talking about like a dude. Now, she's not like physically imposing.
Guard or a bigger?
Yes.
She guard?
Yes, yeah. A guard. She's not physically imposing, nothing like that, but she can stroke it. Spring Garden was up 41-0 at the half. Yes, that's right. 41-0. The other team had 0 points at the half.
Is Caitlin Clark a fair comp?
Yeah, I would say Caitlin Clark plus Carl Malone. I was going to say Caitlin Clark and Carl Malone had a baby. That's Ace Austin. No, I'm kidding. But Ace Austin is going to be a thing, and she's been committed to Alabama for I think since November. And I believe she's got 1 more year. I believe it's 1 more year. I'll double check that. But she's a lot of fun. So
we don't talk enough about Alabama women's program on the show. We don't, but we should acknowledge that those that know nothing about it. Alabama is going to make the NCAA tournament for the 3rd year
without
in a
row.
Doubt. We're not a Elite 8 team. We're probably not a Sweet 16 type team. But Alabama women's basketball was terrible for a long, long time. And now annually making the NCAA tournament, they're just a couple of stars away from becoming a thing in the league, and signing players like that girl is the last next step towards becoming a national elite program.
All right, buddy, I got to get out of here. I got to go call my first game, but roll tide, everybody. Y'all come out and see me at Legacy Arena. I'll be right there on press row. So just shout out, hey, Locked On Bama, or hey, lanky jackass, whatever. I don't care. So I'll roll tide, everybody.
Same thing. Roll tide.